Welcome everyone to another episode of From Principles to Practice. I am your host, Apostle Dr. Ivon Valerie, and today we have a special episode or a special program, should I say, in store for us. Today I have with me a good friend, a wonderful gentleman, a man of great experience in the church community, and it is my privilege to welcome on this program none other than Prophet Robert Mills. But before we hear from Prophet Mills, let me just give a quick recap as to what we are doing for this first season of From Principles to Practice. Many of you would have known that this season we are focusing on the topic of community, especially where it relates to the church. I have written a book called Never Alone, Overcoming Loneliness Through Community. And we have been looking at the content for this book for this season, the first season of this podcast. So far, it is going well. We've had one interview. We've had one Q&A. We've had a few solo episodes. And today, like I said, I am privileged. I am really privileged to have the man himself, Prophet Robert Mills. Without any further ado, let us get in the discussion. Welcome to the podcast, Prophet Mills. I pray that you are doing well. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Yes, I am.
It's a pleasure to have you on the program, on the podcast. And those of you that do not know, Prophet Mills is a very dear friend to me and my entire family. We've been through a lot. We have grown together in the things of God. He's a very, very strong foundational member of our ministry in St. Martin Faith and Works Ministries. Prophet Mills, can you just tell the people a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself.
Well, I am Robert Mills. I am from the island of St. Martin, born and raised. I serve God for most of my life, well, if not, I should say all my life. But the reason I said most is because I think I could probably really say that maybe about at the age of 18, that's when I really committed my life to God in a serious way. You know, but I grew up in church. I grew up knowing right from wrong, knowing the word of God to the best of my ability and serving how I could, you know. But nevertheless, what can I say? There's so much about my life that I don't even know what to pull on Apostle.
Well, tell us, you're married, you have children. What do you do in the ministry? Is there special grace upon your life? I mean, everybody heard me call you prophet.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yes, I am an ordained minister. I hold the capacity of prophet. I am a member and also a board member at Faith and Works Ministry, and I'm married, one wife. You have to be specific these days. One wife and two beautiful kids, two girls, in fact. And what else can I say about myself? It's been a holy ride. It's been a holy ride.
Okay, it's been a holy ride.
Yes.
What about your ride that have you describing it as a holy ride? What makes it different from, let us say, many other persons' lives or people that were born in church?
Well, I said holy ride with the intention of really implying that, as I said a while ago, my life has basically been all about the kingdom, all about church, all about ministry. I mean, yes, give and take with the ups and downs, give and take with the times in my life I probably wasn't serious or I didn't know where I was going, having different trust issues, you know. But nevertheless, I don't think I was privileged, or I should say I was given the opportunity to really try anything else.
Okay.
Because there are little things I probably got into as a young man, and even as an adult. My life has just been ministry, Apostle. It's just been that kind of life. So that's why I said a holy ride.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because, like we have been focusing on community.
Yes, we have.
And the importance of community in one's life, especially in the spiritual journey. You mentioned that you didn't have really the opportunity to do what your friends or other persons were doing out there. We're speaking specifically about things of the world.
Yes.
Would you say that was because of the community you were part of?
Yes.
Church community specifically?
Yes.
Share a little bit of that. What was that like for you growing up in a church community? How did that impact your life?
Well, growing up in a church community, I mean, I must say that a lot has changed from back then to now, where the community is concerned. At least, for sure, I can say the community that I'm part of now, Faith and Works, is way different from any I have been before growing up. Mm-hmm. But there was always this strong sense of guidance mm-hmm. from the elderly people mm-hmm. that always, were both encouraging and both frightening at times. So you didn't have a choice. It's either you would do what you were supposed to mm-hmm. and suffer the consequences, or hide and do what you're not supposed to but still suffer the consequences. But yes, I would say that the community has had a shaping role in my life, in having that kind of sense of strong commitment. I must say, even when I knew that certain things I had got involved in as a young man, I wasn't supposed to. You had that sense of conviction, mm-hmm. both from the Holy Spirit and also from knowing what has been taught, or knowing what is the standards that's expected in the community, that has really, it helped tip the balance as to, by Robert, this is not for you. Mm-hmm. There's so much things that has been said. There's so much things that's promising about you, and there's so much expectations in terms of what people saw within you, because mm-hmm. a lot of people, apostles, saw things in me that I didn't see in myself.
Wow.
A lot of people said things concerning my life and spoke certain things that at that time I didn't understand.
And is that negative things, positive things?
Positive. Positive.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that the community that you are part of, because you were part of this powerful community, they got you to see greater inside of you than you saw.
Yeah. Although, if I'll be honest, I didn't believe. Mm-hmm. Although I didn't believe, but I always question that, how is it that they are able to see what I haven't even have a preview yet to, mm-hmm. But it's now looking back on my life and some of the road it took to get where I'm at right now. Mm-hmm. There's not much I can remember, if I'll be honest, in terms of can tell you specifically that person said that. But
right.
I know for a fact that there were things that were said. There were things that were encouraging to me, even sowed in my life. Mm-hmm. Words that were sowed in my life. And one of the strongest role, I would say, was my mom. Mm-hmm. One of the strongest role in facilitating the growth and the discipline, if I must say, mm-hmm. Was my mom. She really was a person who encouraged me, who really spoke to me, who really, took the time out. And even when there were things I didn't understand that I was going through, right. She didn't have all the answers.
Right.
She didn't have all the resources that she could pull on, that we could say like today we have YouTube, we have social media, we have different things at our disposal. She maybe didn't have all that, right. But she always had a scripture for me. That's one thing I remember clearly. Even before I left the house, or even any time there was a little time where she could just drop something in, mm-hmm. She would remember the Bible says this, mm-hmm. You don't have to go through this alone. You don't have to go to the status quo. You believe God. There was always a constant encouragement from her.
You mentioned your mom and how she really encouraged you. You also mentioned that she did not have social media and like YouTube and all these things that we have access to today to really help her in doing that, like how we do with as parents today. In your opinion, do you think that technology, social media, to be more specific, has caused the impact that a community have on a younger person? Do you think it has helped, or has it been an asset, or has it been a liability?
It's a very good one, Apostle. I would say, Apostle, really and truly, how can I put it? I would say it's dependent on the usage. I think that's the best way I can put it. It's dependent on the usage, because really and truly, anything I believe can be utilized good or bad. And it's really based on the point of view. I think there's both positive and negative to the resources that we have today.
Right.
Because you can look at a child that will spend hours on a tablet and they're not really learning anything because it's based on the content that they're taking in. However, in that same breath, if I need to, there's so much, because the other day I was looking at a program with my daughter, and while I understand too, you have to be careful, but there was so much different programs tailored to a particular question that she had that I wouldn't have necessarily had to tell her, okay, you know what, I'll come back to you maybe in a week's time, to give me time to find time to research or to search on, and there were things that I was able to. Now, what I did was I didn't just play the video for her. I watched the video with her. So that way I could also tailor certain things that I really wanted her to understand, and certain things that was not, necessarily relevant to her and her question. So that's why I said that I think that there's a positive and negative to it. But I do believe it's all dependent on the usage.
Wonderful. I have the same opinion as well. It can be good, it can be bad. Like almost everything out there can be good and can be bad. Based on that observation, in my book, Never Alone, I spoke about community via social media and technology, because this is the day and age that we are in. And it really is a shame, because we are connected without any time delay. Internationally, globally, we are connected. And we still have a higher rate of loneliness taking place in the world. So my question to you is this a new thing, or did community before social media also had its negative aspects too?
Well, there's something that you said that I want to pull on that thread a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to answer the question direct, but there's something you said that just connected with me. When you said that, back then with the social, not having the social media and the community versus now, and you mentioned some stuff from your book. And when I read that book, that was one of the stuff that took me back then in my mind, in my past, because I remember a season in my life where I was always friendly, I was always kind, I was always respectful. But there was a time in my life I was antisocial in the community.
Wow.
And that's why I said in the book, when you talked about it, and even as you said it again tonight, it brought me back to them, because what he said is so profound, because you have so much access, so much ways you can communicate and see and get in contact with people, but yet you can still feel alone. And for me, back then, I had so much people around me. Now, I'm not saying everybody was my friend
Right.
and everybody was close to me,
Right.
but the church, at least the church that I was a part of, they always operated as a family church.
Mm-hmm.
You always felt like when you came, you felt like these were your brothers, like your blood brothers and sisters. That even if we went our separate ways, we were like real family. But I had a time in my life, and I really cannot remember what took me there, but I had a time in my life where I was antisocial. And I was always in a corner. I didn't want to go to, and that was really in my younger days. So I don't know if it's a youth thing that I went through, but I was always in a corner. I wasn't really having fellowship, like discussions and stuff. And yet everyone around me was always welcoming, was always, nice. It's not like somebody really did me something that caused me to pull away in such a manner. And I was like that for quite a while. And even when I began to come out a little bit, it was still never genuine. It was just in a way to kind of like, you know what? I don't want these people to get into my life.
Right.
So, I would just, you give a little so that they would feel that, okay, man, he's coming out, he's changing, but it was still the same with me. But what I must say that really broke my defense was having someone really influential in my life that really spoke and that really helped me to see the importance of having a community, of having, people around you. It doesn't mean that when you have everyone around you for you that your problems go away,
Right.
or it's not gonna hurt, or it's just gonna, it's just gonna be easier. The problem is not gonna be easier, but the burden will be lighter.
Oh, wow.
It's not gonna be easier, but it's gonna be lighter because there's a support system. There's people that can pray. There's people that can encourage you. And somehow I always had that person that, though I never spoke to them, they were able to tell me, if not into deep words, but tell me, listen, this is what you're experiencing now. This is what and I'm like, until it really broke my defense, where I really began to, really embrace and really, be part of the community that I'm in. And I see it as a direct mirror to even now. Because, Apostle, it doesn't matter the vast advance in technology. It doesn't matter. What the emphasis ought to be is the individuals realizing that when they observe that there are genuine people in their life, that they can connect genuinely with them, that they can get what they need, vice versa. Because I had stuff to contribute, they had stuff to contribute.
Wow.
And I think if we really look at it from that perspective, because we don't know what's gonna happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now in the advancement of technology. But we always look at technology as, this is a bad thing, it's a wicked thing. And no, it's all about how you're able to utilize it. And yeah, you can FaceTime, you can WhatsApp and still feel alone.
Yeah. One of the issues I have observed is that we are trying to use technology as the replacement for connectedness. And that cannot be, because like you said, and I agree with you, Prophet, it is your involvement. It is you playing your part. You have to connect with others.
Yes.
And whether it is through technology, whether it is in person, whether it is virtually, whether it is spiritually, whether in any relationship, in your marriage, with your children, with a parenting relationship, we really and truly have to connect. And that comes with a level of vulnerability.
Yes.
And so you have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to go beyond what you're feeling. The uncomfortable stage of vulnerability, you have to press through that, and if you do not press through that, it doesn't matter how much technology you have, And right now we have entered into the age of AI.
AI.
so it doesn't matter what Siri know about you or what Alexa can do for you. Really and truly, there are certain things that you have to do for yourself.
Yes.
And where it pertains to community, you can have all this technology and still be lonely.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful you said that. But you said something that really just, I think this is the highlight of the discussion so far. You said the community does not make it easier. It makes the burden lighter.
Yeah.
Can you just speak on that for a little bit?
Well, again, I will use my testimony. You know, coming from the background that I came, you know, we all as you spoke about if were there any negative things, and I would think maybe that was the negative, if I have to say. You know, sometimes too, back then we used to think that because we are part of God's kingdom and because we are part of certain things where it pertains to God, that we would not have to go through, you know, that everything would be easy and everything would just be peachy at all times, and you know, you won't have much work to do to that extent, if I have to say it like that.
Right.
And when I look at me now, back then, I have not arrived. I like I said, I was really antisocial, and I'm far from the person where it pertains to being socialized that I should be, but I'm also far from
where
I was, right? And when I look at that, it brings me back to the point that I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice that, am I going to step out? Because there were so many different things, you know, you don't want to get... I had issues building relationships.
Come on, talk to us about that.
I had issues building relationships, Apostle. And my issue was always stemmed from putting in the hard work to build a relationship, getting hurt, and then going back to ground zero. And not having, you know, whatever it is that you build. Not understanding at that time, I didn't understand that, you know, yes, everything's for a season, and you know, when you there are things that you need to get at a particular time, and it doesn't mean that it'll always be in your life. But whatever you had to get from it, you had to get from it. And I didn't understand that. So my issue was always, I don't want to build this relationship. I don't want to start nothing that it's not going to be there in the next 10 years or the next 5 years. But then I had to come to the realization that if I'm doing that, I am not destroying or hindering anyone else. I'm hindering myself. Because there are things that God placed in different people that in a particular season you're supposed to get. Whether it's be encouragement, whether it's strengthening, whether it's be that one word, that one drop of word that changes your life.
Right.
You know, there are things that you are never and were never meant to walk this journey alone. Never. I only changed to the person who I am because I decided that I would have to take a step of faith. I would have to step out, and because there's so much that God, I believe, deposits in a community for you. And there's so much diversity in the community that you're able to learn from. You're able to learn from things that you are not even supposed to go through.
Come on.
Because someone else's testimony or someone else's battle that they probably shared or they preach or something were able to be a blessing to you. You know, and when you isolate yourself, because I could tell you what would have probably happened to me. I could tell you what probably would have happened to me if I had continued on that path, because I was already in the church. I was already part of the community, not being active. All right, alienating myself from people who looked out for me, who cared for me, who wanted the best for me, right? And eventually, if I had continued, I would have isolated myself and ended up in a place where, you know what, I will just live my life how I want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to walk this road. I don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's what would have happened to me. But I know that it did not happen because of the choices I made to embrace what God has given me.
You said something a while ago, Prophet. You said that there are people who are part of your community that their experiences will teach you lessons that you don't have to experience yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that is so profound because I've experienced that. The lessons of life, you don't always have to go to class to learn them.
That's so true.
I remember one of my favorite authors, R.T. Kendall. I was reading one of his books. He was writing on his 25 years experience as a pastor of Westminster Church. And really and truly, I had this book in my hand and I read this book in about 2 days. And what baffled me the most is I could get information, I could get lessons from his 25 years that this man lived in 2 days.
Yeah.
And so that plays a lot how community really affects us. You know, and it's wonderful that you brought that up.
This is how I see it sometimes. You know, there are mistakes that you will make that will strengthen you, that will teach you something. But there are also some mistakes I believe that God prevents you by allowing you to witness information. So you will either be in a community or you will come across or you will read a book like you said, and there's something that will just shape your thinking and just change. And it's not where you are living in fear and say, you know what, this can never happen to me. Because what I love that if peradventure it happens to you, you have an idea of maybe how you can get out. And the reason I say an idea is because even I don't subscribe that there's a one way for everything.
Right.
I don't subscribe to that because really and truly, not because you did it exactly like that to the T means that it's going to happen exactly like that for me. However, I do believe you can learn from people's mistakes and also their successes that can enhance what you need to do.
Right.
You understand? So somebody might fall into a trap or into, I don't know, I don't want to say what just came to my mind, so I'll just use something else. But someone may fall into the dangers of developing an attitude of lying or habit. Thank you. A habit of lying, you know, and end up reaping the consequences of that. I'm witnessing that, and I'm maybe not struggling with lying. However, witnessing the consequences of their lies and what it did to them might just prevent me from struggling to going down to that road, or even maybe struggling with something else.
Right.
I might say, boy, in my mind, maybe, I mean, sin is sin, but in my mind, you know, maybe stealing is worse than lying. You know, so it's like, nah, I don't think I want to risk what I know I have to accomplish by taking on the hand or by doing something I'm not supposed to do to then face the consequence.
Right.
I don't think it's it. I truly believe that God places sometimes certain scenarios and situations before you and people's experience to really just help fortify you and give you a certain way of thinking, you know. But it is important that we pay attention.
And you're right, because if we go back to the Old Testament, we see where God instructed them to build memorials so that and to pass on the information onto the generations to come, so they would remember what he had done. You know, he instructed the parents to write the laws in their homes, on their walls, so his statutes, so they would know, teach. You know, the Bible also instructs us that let the older women teach the younger women, the older men teach the younger men.
Yeah.
And that is so the experiences we had to go through before, they don't have to go through it again. You know. So that is one of the ways I believe that when Jesus said that greater things you will do in my name than I did, I believe that building upon the lessons that were taught, that were learned, and also taught by those that have gone before us, then if we build upon that, we would advance in this life. You mentioned you read the book, and first of all, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
Is there any part of the book that really stood out to you, and why?
You know I have to bring some movie reference in this, right? You know me long enough for this.
Let us go with it. Let's go.
You know, like Neo in the Matrix, when he had the red pill
or the blue
pill to choose, right? And it's like, for me, the book has given me this balance where it's like understanding more what benefits you can get from a community and how to utilize it, and also what not to do. You understand? Like what not to do in order to not end up benefiting from it then.
Right.
You know, and that what it has really done for me. It's really just equip me, because first and foremost, I'll be honest with you, Apostle. You said thank you for your support, and really and truly, I probably wouldn't have picked up a book like that, never alone, because from the topic, you know, sometimes the titles of a book, you know, it's like interesting, or it's like I don't think it's for me.
Right.
But really and truly, what I loved about it the most is that when I began to read it, and I began to it threw me off guard, because it's not what I expected. But then it was so profound with all the, not just the right terminologies, but I should say the right scriptural backing,
right, also
to really show us, wow. I mean, there's some things about the community as the way you taught it that I never sought to put it in that kind of mind frame capacity. You know, like how outreach, the spiritual disciplines. I know about the spiritual disciplines, you know, from reading the book and also trying to implement it in my life. But I never saw how it can fit into being like part of the community and what you can, you know. I mean, I do not usually read a book back to back twice. And I'll be honest, I was not fully successful. But I started. I started to read it, and when I said back, I literally mean back to back. Like after I finished, I went back to the first page and I start over. Usually I would read a book, and then what I get from it, I would either move on to something else, and then maybe when I feel led or I wanna, like, some time pass. But no, I went back, and what I felt doing a little different this time was really what I attempted to do with the second reading was to really maybe zero in on some certain places,
right, and
really dig deeper into my life and what I'm seeing and what I'm receiving in the book. I'm maybe not doing justice in terms of not able to pull up a exact passage and say, look, this is that and whatnot, but it really was a blessing to me.
Are there any last words of encouragement you want to give to the listeners where it pertains to community, especially from the experiences that you've had growing up in community? And you did mention about how you would have changed some things earlier had you known the importance of community.
For those of us who fancy gadgets and stuff, and I've come to realize that, you know, these things have a power source. Okay, whether it's been plugged in or whether it has to be juiced up or recharged. And that is important. That has its place, a light bulb, or not a light bulb, but let's say a microwave or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's plugged. It can remain plugged or you can unplug it. Right? But that microwave comes alive when it's being activated. Similar with other gadgets. They can be charged, they can be plugged in, but when you begin to utilize the gadget for its purpose, it comes alive. And I would say, using my life, my testimony, don't just rely on being plugged into a community. Because you can be plugged in, being there, being part of the community, and not coming alive. You will come alive in your community when you begin to activate. And activating takes action.
Come on.
And what does that mean? That means, we have to step out. We have to step out of our bubble. We have to get more, take steps of faith. For example, if your community is doing something that's a little bit out of your natural, how to say it?
Out of your comfort zone.
Comfort zone, thank you. If your community is doing something out of your comfort zone, don't say, you know what, this is not for me. No. Come. Be a part of it, because you might be surprised. Just like I said a while ago, I went in with the book having a pre-notion of what I thought it would have been. But this book just opened my eyes and opened my mind to so much different possibilities that can be applicable in my life. Now, if I didn't take the step to actually read, I wouldn't have known what's inside.
Right.
And some of us think that it's just good enough to come wherever you gather, whatever, and just, give a half, not a full contribution, just give a half. I'll just come and I'll just stay in my corner. I will not really engage. I won't really participate, but I'm there. They know I'm there, but no, it's not enough. Sometimes the things that you have to get, you will get it when you begin to step out, when you begin to activate, when you begin to pull on the resources God has placed for you within the community. Because we've heard of iron sharpening iron, right? And I always saw it as, iron sharpening iron is not one way.
Come on.
It's not one way. I have been blessed so many times in community, Apostle, being a leader, and hearing from visitors or members or even a child, and it has had so much impact. And you would not think it to come that place, but it came. So my final words of encouragement to that person or persons out there that you're not part of a community, get into one. And if you are, then don't just Sarah, I'm just here and whatever. No. Get engaged, be a part of the community. Nothing is overnight. I'm not expecting you to go from not discussing or not being out there to just being. Everything takes a process, but you got to start somewhere. So I would just encourage anyone that, don't just be satisfied of being plugged in. Get engaged, get active, and watch what God will do to you and through you in that community.
Well, there you have it. The final words from the man himself, Prophet Robert Mills, a man of great wisdom, a man of experience in community, especially the faith community, the church. He spoke about what his experiences have been like, and the changes he have seen in church community from when he was younger to now that he is a parent. He's a married man to one wife. He made sure he specified that was one wife he was married to. and he have two beautiful children, two beautiful young ladies. We thank God for him. Thank you so much, Prophet, for coming on to the program today. Because of time, we have to wrap up. I really enjoyed the discussion with you. I had a wonderful time, and I intend to have you back again.
Thank you.
But for this episode, we have to wrap it up. Once again, guys, you have been listening to From Principles to Practice, the podcast where we move from principles and apply into our practical life what the Bible says so we can experience the manifestation of God's goodness in our lives. I am your host, Apostle Dr. Ivon Valerie. In case you want to contact us, you can do so via email at fromprinciplestopractice@gmail.com. Our email address once again is fromprinciplestopractice@gmail.com. And if you want to contact us via our website, you can do so at podcast.fromprinciplestopractice.com. Our website once again is podcast.fromprinciplestopractice.com. While you are on our website, don't forget you can support the podcast by giving a gift of any amount. We do appreciate it. It goes a long way. Thank you so much for your support in advance. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to just talk about it on your social medias, the podcast, From Principles to Practice. Once again, I have been your host, Apostle Dr. Ivon Valerie, and thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, God bless you.